We'll find out who's up for the Cup today on Sunday Grandstand. Llanelli Scarlets face Newcastle Falcons. It's day 2 of the Grand Prix snooker in Preston. All the action from the Guildhall on the way. We're heading to Sydney for the best of the World Slalom Canoe Championships. And a roundup of the weekend's international football and highlights from Super League's final playoff. Hello, we're at Stradey Park, the home of Llanelli Scarlets, for our second imagination last summer in Athens after Britain's canoeists returned home with 2 medals. The action this week comes from Sydney. It's the World Canoe Slalom Championships, and Paul Dickinson takes us through the action.
Penrith Valley is just a 1-hour drive from Sydney, a beautiful location which was the home of slalom canoeing for the 2000 Olympics and now hosts the World Championships for this exhilarating sport. The man-made multi-million-pound course has been custom-built for maximum degrees of difficulty while showing the sport at its very best for spectators. The layout of the course can be changed at a moment's notice in terms of the number and position of the gates to be negotiated and the speed of the water. 52 nations are represented here in Australia, and we're promised a packed house for the medal runs. On this course 5 years ago, Paul Radcliffe won an Olympic silver medal, and 4 years later Helen Reeves kept everybody guessing before it was confirmed she too had a place on the medal rostrum.
The big girls that have medalled, they deserve to medal. They've all paddled well, and especially Elena, she's paddled well all year, and that's an outstanding performance. But for me, it's quite disappointing.
Your team want you to go and have a chat with them. So what's happened?
I've got a medal somehow.
Hang on.
What's happened?
We're not quite sure what's going on down here. What did you just see on the board there?
I came up as 3rd.
It certainly was fantastic news. It was Helen's first Olympic medal, a bronze. And today, because she's recovering from a shoulder operation, she now joins me in the commentary box for these World Championships.
Yeah, that was certainly the highlight of my canoeing career to date. What a fantastic day. Unfortunately, I have been out this year with a shoulder injury, but I'm coming back well and hopefully will be in shape for the World Championships next year in Prague.
Well, thanks, Helen. And now let's have a closer look at the course with former world champion Richard Fox.
Oh, a little touch on the helmet there. That's no good. Okay, trying to run this in. And round and a go. So that's a 2-second penalty on gate 2. That's no good. All right, this is tricky. Got to slow the boat up here. Oh, when he's through. As you come through 11, you can just see this cluster of gates right in front. And there are lots of different ways of doing this. I'm going to go for the double spin. There we go. And get across here and turn down. So very technical. And the last upstream, got to stay cool. Run it around. Straight out onto the wave. Turn board and hold. And away you go and sprint. Try to stay dry and over the line.
That was a superb display by Richard. So just to recap, if you touch any of the gates, it means a 2-second penalty added to your final time for each gate touched. But if you miss a gate altogether, well, you can forget any thoughts of a medal. It means a massive time penalty of 50 seconds. And as we watch British C1 paddler Stuart McIntosh, another rule we shall have to watch out for is that only the top 10 competitors make it through to the final run. Unfortunately for Great Britain, Daniel Goddard, Stuart and David Florence finished in 13th, 14th and 15th places. Stuart would naturally be disappointed, having won a medal at the European Championships recently, and he qualified fastest for the semi-final stage, but his run was not smooth and his 2-second time penalty cost him dearly.
I was there, I was ready to go and everything, and then I guess I just went through gate 1 down to gate 2, and I think I was just focusing maybe a little bit too hard on the next gate, and I just a little bit too much right edge, I think, and just lost it.
Well, terrific to see Kimberly Walsh in this K1 women's final. She really has got a chance to make a name for herself. She's in 9th place at the moment after the first run down. But being somebody so young and being in your shoes in the commentary box, what advice would you give to her, Helen?
I would just say she's just got to keep her cool. Kimberly can be very cool, actually, and I think that, to be honest, now she's in this final, I think she's going to give it all her best, and I think we could see some really great stuff. She's just got to keep it clean, keep it smooth, and I think we'll find she'll have a good result.
Well, just 2 seconds of time penalties on the first run. She's got to try and avoid that if she possibly can.
I think she'll certainly be trying to get a clean run out of this and really just trying to be as tight and precise around these gates. She seems to have had a really good start here, really good lines, and coming into this quite tight sequence here. We've got 2 upstreams crossing this green wave, and it's quite a nice move. It looks like you can come off really quickly, but you've got to be careful of hitting that gate with your nose. Oh, when she's hit it, oh, blimey, well, she's going to want to keep it clean now, and certainly after this bit. Oh, come on, Kim, you just got to get away from that gate.
So going through gate number 10, they're just losing it a little bit. She's got to stay calm if that's possible in these torrid waters. Yeah. Certainly has a good pedigree in terms of her brother Campbell, of course, the Olympic silver medalist. 2 seconds of time penalties there confirmed, but still, nevertheless, a good run by Kimberly Walsh.
Yeah, and she accomplished that little stagger there really well. And the stagger basically consists of a couple of gates that go from one side of the river to the other. So you go left, right, left, and it can be quite difficult. And sometimes, as you saw Kim, she went through it backwards, which means it just sets you up nicely for the next gate.
So still just 2 seconds of time penalties. This is a cool, calm, collected performance by the young Briton, but she's getting stuck there. Yeah, she got a little stuck in that stopper, and basically a stopper is where a wave folds back on itself, and it can actually hold you, like you saw Kim, and you lose a bit of time, but she seems to be on a really clean run still, really good run, just that one penalty. So as long as she doesn't pick up another one on this bottom bit, I think she'll be on a good run. I think she will, you know. She could well end up being in the lead at this stage in the competition. Of course, there are a lot of very good performers yet to come. But her first World Championship for Kimberly Walsh, and look at that, she is in first place, 2:36.41. One word for that, excellent.
I think she'll be really chuffed with that. It was a very calm, very collected run. She got that one penalty, which I'm sure she'll be a little bit irritated about, one little mistake, but overall, very good.
Well, next up, Laura Blakeman. She finished in 5th place after the first run, 1.3 seconds down on the leader, and that was Elena Kaliska, the world and European champion from Slovakia. And Laura, Helen, she's one of the most experienced members of the British team, isn't she?
Yeah, I mean, Laura now, she made the Olympics in 2000 at a pretty young age, and Laura's still only at, I think now she's 26. It's still pretty young, really, but has been in a number of world championships, and has first made the team when she was still a junior at the age of 17. So be looking for good things from Laura. She's a pretty strong, confident paddler, so we'll just see what she's doing.
Well, certainly the target, which has been set there by Bongart of Germany, which means that Kimberly Walsh is now in 2nd place for Great Britain, but we've still got some of the top seeds to come yet. Still a marvellous achievement by Kimberly Walsh, but Laura Blakeman is going pretty well here. She had a clear run the first time down this Penrith course, and that was very good. No time penalties at all, but finding it just a little bit of a struggle, and that is 2 seconds.
Yeah, I guess she'll probably be feeling a bit of pressure now, but again, she had a very good top section, just like Kim, so fingers crossed, as long as she doesn't try and turn on it too much. The problem is sometimes when you're, when there's another touch. Oh gosh, well, she's got to try and keep it clean from now on. The trouble is when you get a few penalties, quite often you try, you get a bit anxious and you trying a bit too hard sometimes, so fingers crossed she'll keep it clean for the rest of the course.
Well, coming out into a very fast part of the course now from that upstream gate, swings over into the centre, and then it's left, right, left, right.
Oh, and this bit is particularly tricky, so just got to keep focused and get herself into those last few gates. And there she is going into the final upstream. Oh no, sorry, second to. She's got one more upstream to go after this. Come on, Laura.
Well, looking for a high finish is Laura Blakeman. Remember, it's Bongart of Germany who's leading at the moment,
no,
and that is another 2 seconds.
It's going to be difficult now, I would think, for her. She's going to, have to rely. Oh no, and backing off to this final gate. Oh, come on, Laura, just final push that finish. And you've got to remember, by this point, their arms are pretty damn tired. I would say a bit of lactic going on in there.
Absolutely. She's down in 6th place for the time being, 237.21, and 3 lots of time penalties for Laura Blakeman.
Yeah, I would think she's very disappointed with that, but the penalties did cost her quite a lot. But it's good to have the 2 British women in the top 10.
Well, here we go with the top 3. The first that we see is Peggy Dickens of France, well known to Helen Reeves here because you shunted this paddler down out of the medals. not so long ago, was it?
No, it must have been really horrible for her. Obviously, it was a delightful day for me, but a similar thing happened to her on television, but obviously she was down to 4th. So let's hope that she, comes away with a medal today, because she is a very strong paddler, can be very quick, and really deserves a medal, really, if she, well, providing she gets the runs in.
Absolutely. It's clean so far. Just 2 seconds of time penalties on the first run, and consistently one of the best in the world. Although, having said that, this season she's only ranked 7th in the world throughout the World Cup season, so she's still got a bit of work to do. Yeah,
she does. I think Peggy generally is a pretty quick paddler, but sometimes gets a lot of penalties, which can cost her quite a lot, as happened in the Olympics. But so far she's on a clean run and is looking pretty smooth, really, coming into this final upstream. Just 2 more gates to go. Oh, that was pretty tight round that, and out. Yep, she's gone, and just now it's all about the sprint to the finish, really.
So Bongard, the German, still in the lead. Can Peggy get inside that time? Yes, she can, by some margin. So it's France in the lead for the time being.
And that was a pretty clean, confident run. Very good paddling from Peggy.
Now then, what can Mandy Planet do? She's been around for a long time. She's been very consistent this season. She's in the top 2 in the world rankings coming into these World Championships. And a new target has been set by Peggy Dickens of France, and that is what the German is aiming for.
Yeah, and she only had a slight advantage after the first run, so she'll be looking to go pretty quick and have a really clean run. I mean, it's all about keeping it clean, and look at that split. She's up by 5 seconds, which is pretty good. But Mandy is a very experienced paddler, very strong, and at the moment looks like she's on a complete flyer. That was absolutely brilliant. Oh, and brilliant upstream gate, literally into the last upstream and home. Hopefully, no more, don't want to pick up the penalties.
Well, she certainly is going very well indeed, Helen. Her target is 229.38, and she looks to be well inside that.
Oh, as long as she keeps it clean, and she does, I think she'll be going into the lead here.
Without a doubt, We've got a new leader. That is absolutely superb. 6.69 seconds, better than anybody else, and only the Olympic champion, Elena Kaliska of Slovakia, to go. A good ride down this course by the German.
Yeah, I think it'll be a tough target for Elena now to to keep up, really. She's got a slight lead after the first run, so she's got to keep it clean herself. And, she's also a very experienced paddler, being the Olympic champion. Let's see what she does.
Well, no time penalties during that first run, where she had a 1.5 second lead over Mandy Planet of Germany. And Peggy Dickens, of course, the French #1, guaranteed a medal, unlike Athens last year, where, of course, Helen beat her into that bronze medal position. But this lady is a bit special. Already a European champion and the Olympic champion as well, and now going for the Grand Slam of titles.
And she certainly is going for it. She's on an absolute flyer at the moment, accomplishing the gates so cleanly and really precisely. She's a very strong paddler, and also very technically good. So far, no penalties, and coming into this tricky section after this, it comes into a couple of stoppers where she really has to keep it together towards the last bit.
Well, that is the split time, and look at the advantage, 4.29 seconds over the German, even at this stage. So can she afford to relax?
I don't think you can ever relax in slalom. Once you relax, you just don't know what's going to happen. So far, well, blimey, that was absolutely brilliant. Like that little stagger section there is actually very tricky, and she accomplished it brilliantly. Good upstream, coming into this final upstream. Really, I think she's got it, but we'll have to see. You never know till the finish line.
No, you can't count your chickens, can you? But it looks as though we may have a new world champion here. She's certainly got an advantage over Mandy Planet of Germany. Has to go under 2:22, and she's done it.
What a fantastic run. That was absolutely brilliant. I think she'll be ecstatic. Blimey, she really is someone to beat these days.
She certainly is, and that is a big advantage. 2.83 seconds for K1 canoeing. That represents a big margin over Mandy Planet and Peggy Dickens. There is the result. And for Great Britain, of course, we had Laura Blakeman down in 8th place and Kimberly Walsh in 6th.
First few gates were really good, and I was pleased with how my run went until near the end. Started to go a little bit wrong at the bottom, just a small mistakes, a bit of time lost, but generally pleased with my run.
I just felt really I had to just go for it and see what I could do. I stepped up my pace and perhaps lost touch with my natural rhythm a little bit, and the penalties I picked up were not really usual ones for me, but I think I was just going over the pace I'm normally used to in places.
It's the C2 men's competition next, and Stuart Bowman and Nicholas Smith going for Great Britain. Well, this German pairing going very well down the course. Marcus Becker and Stefan Henze, silver medalists from the Olympic Games, coming up through gate 16 and looking pretty useful. They only finished in 8th place after the first run, but this is much better.
Yeah, it looks like it's a really quick run. Look, they're up by 4 seconds here. They're obviously on a good one. The Germans are very strong generally throughout all classes, but they certainly had a good few C2 classes in the last few years. Oh, and that was a really good sequence, just going through there, accomplishing the couple of stoppers and doing it very cleanly. They're out of that second into the last upstream gate now, just about to happen. As long as they keep it clean, I think they certainly could be moving up the order.
I think you're right, Helen. This is excellent stuff. Certainly much, much better than their first run.
Yeah, and they just a good clean exit there from the final gate. And look at that, into first place by all 5.5 seconds. I think they'll be pretty pleased with that run.
So new leaders, Marcus Becker and Stefan Henze. But now it's the turn of the British pairing. Stuart Bowman sitting in the front of that boat, Nicholas Smith. They've been together a long, long time. This is a very experienced pair, isn't it, Helen?
Yeah, they have a lot of experience in single Canadian boats as well as in their C2. I think they got together in '97 and went to the Olympic Games in 2000 and got a 4th place, which was absolutely brilliant. They're a very highly technical crew, do a lot of thinking, a lot of analysing on videos, and are very thoughtful, whereas Nick in the back has got very long limbs and he can do some really awesome manoeuvring around the gates.
Well, we saw the German pairing just a few moments ago. Becker and Henze set the second fastest time of the day so far, 112. And that gives them a lead at 2:30.49, and that is the target for these two.
Well, they're certainly on target at the moment. All they've got to do is try and keep a clean run and obviously try and pull out in the tight staggers is really where we can lose time for these C2s. It's quite hard, as you can imagine, having 2 people in the boat to actually manoeuvre around these tight stagger moves.
Well, they've been paddling together for so long. I'm sure they must do this in their sleep. They know the course so well. They paddled here, of course, in the Olympic Games back in the year 2000. They were in Athens as well, coming across to gate 14 now.
And they did that. They accomplished that really well. It just they need to get away quickly from the downstream gate there. They seem to be doing good. So it's all about really keeping it together in this last sequence. There's one last really hard sequence to come together, but they look like they're on it. They're a really good pair. They communicate really well. So it looks like they've got it together today.
Well, that was the split that the Germans had, Becker and Henze, and they're 3 seconds outside of that just for the time being are Bowman and Smith. We're coming now down towards the end of the course. Got quite a lot of support here at Penrith. They're trying to make the top 3, but it's going to be so close.
It looks like it, yeah. It's quite 3 seconds to make up is quite a long time on this tricky bottom section, but you never know. They just got to get out quickly and a hard push to the finish, but it is a hard push, I tell you, out of that last gate when you can see the finish line.
Well, no penalties. They're in second place for the time being, but we've still got some of the top seeds to come. 2:33.80 for Bowman and Smith of Great Britain. Now then, these fellas, Kuban and Olejnik of Slovakia. The Slovakians have got a tremendous record in these C2 events. And remarkable that the Hoshorna twins, Olympic champions, of course, they've had a terrible time here at Penrith. I don't know what happened to them, Helen.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I guess in that they maybe picked up quite a lot of penalties and made a couple of mistakes down the course. It is quite a tricky course, and I can imagine if you get offline even slightly, then you can have a big time penalties.
So Kuban in the front, Olejnik, Marian Olejnik.
And they're up there on the split by 2.5 seconds. That's a pretty good lead, I would think, coming into this final bit. Oh, these get bow rounds. Yep, and they've done it.
And this boat, of course, much longer than the C1 or the K1. And that makes it all the more difficult to steer in these torrid waters here. But battling back towards the centre of the course and then swinging across for this next upstream gate.
Oh,
very close to the side there as well.
Yeah, sometimes it's good because you can actually push off the wall, which can give you a bit of more momentum, but other times it's not quite as good. So they look like they're about to get... Oh, and they're in the lead. That looked like a pretty good run to me.
1.47 seconds ahead at the moment, and still the top seeds to come. And here they are, Christian Baumann in the front and Michael Senft go for Germany. They still have the fastest time of the day so far, 111.32. The Slovakians, Kuban and Olejnik, who managed to get close to that. These guys, the world champions elect, if they can hold it together and if they don't get any time penalties.
Yeah, they were obviously on form on that first one, doing 111 seconds. That was a pretty good time. And obviously they'll be looking to keep this run very clean and very precise, I would think. As I mentioned earlier, it is a very tricky course for C2s. I can't really imagine having somebody in the back also to have to maneuver around a gate, so I can imagine it's very tricky.
Well, there is the lead at the moment, Kuban and Olejnik at the next split, which they're actually behind at the moment. We're certainly going to see some new world champions today. This German pairing, though, only 20th ranked in the world this season. They've only competed in 2 World Cups, so their form is relatively unknown, but they did finish 4th in the Olympic Games in Athens last year. So they are big championship performers.
Well, they certainly are. I would think that they'll be really holding on to this race. They look like they're going pretty well so far, and all doing that final move forward. I mean, there hasn't been many C2s that have done that, so they look like they're on a good one to me. The top section looked really clean, that middle section was clean, so it's all about these final few gates really, keeping them clean and keeping them sharp.
There's the next split time. They've been going pretty well, and there is the time difference. They're 3 seconds ahead of Kuban and Olejnik.
And that's a pretty good split, I would say. Being 3 seconds up at this stage is pretty important. And coming into this, second to last upstream, they did that pretty well. And now it's all about this final upstream and the exit. You can get caught on the exit here. As you can see, there's a bit of a stopper which can actually hold you as you're trying to get to that final gate.
There's only about 10 seconds to go. They were outside the medals in the Olympic competition last year, but they're definitely in the medals this time. Over the finish line.
And they've got it. Brilliant.
That was superb. 4.62 seconds ahead of the Slovakians and the other German pairing. So Senft and Bahman are the new world champions, and they did it brilliantly.
They certainly did. They were very precise, very clean, and actually really lovely to watch.
Certainly a very good day for the Germans. Bahman and Senft, the new world champions. Kuban and Olejnik get silver. Becker and Henze, the bronze, with Bowman and Smith in 7th place.
Our confidence is coming on, and each race we felt we paddled better this year, and we just got to keep moving in the same direction and keep attacking it, I think.
And a final thought from you, is there one thing that you have thought about, well, we need to go away and concentrate on?
Not really. I think it just came down to the day. We paddled well, but we didn't quite all go as well as it could have. You can always improve on your fitness. You can always improve, practice away. But plus, we've had a few injuries this year as well. So probably our worst close season training we had coming into this year. And all in all, I think we're quite pleased with the season. We need to start winning some medals, like you say.
In the men's K1, Campbell Walsh had high hopes of a medal, having won silver in Athens last year, but things didn't go according to plan. It was a very closely contested semi-final, and he needed a clean run in order to make that final. He is a most successful paddler in recent years, but an uncharacteristic 2-second time penalty and a slow finishing time meant he finished in 18th place. Richard Hanslow and Neil Buckley finished in 30th and 37th places. Not a good day for the team.
I thought it was a water splash made the pole move, but apparently everyone says the wind blew it into my back or into me after the water had splashed it as well, so that's a bit unlucky.
So we had no Brits in the K1 final. Top honours went to Germany. It was an astonishing run by Fabian Dörfler with the fastest time of the day, second time down. He moved up from 3rd place to 1st by over 2.5 seconds. The German team were having a fabulous championships. The next day in the K1 Team Championship, the GB team of Walsh, Buckley and Hanslow had a chance to make amends, but 8 time penalties on the first run and 6 on the second meant the trio finished 1 place outside the top 10. And so it was left to the French team of Bilot, Lefebvre and Peschier, all major medal winners, and they stole a march on the rest with the 2 fastest runs of the day to take gold. Next event, and it's still K1, the women this time, and after an upbeat performance in their individual events, Great Britain were feeling optimistic about their medal chances. After all, the Great Britain team had won 2 bronze medals in a row in this event at previous World Championships. And so the Germans, 2 penalty points already against the trio. And actually, Helen, they're spread wide apart at the moment on the course, aren't they, as they head off towards gate 16 and 17.
They certainly are, which isn't a particularly good sign. I mean, the sort of key of a good team one really is to keep yourselves very close together. And as you can see, the front paddle here is actually quite a long way apart. Maybe this is actually a tactic, we just don't know really, but I would say that actually it's not a particularly good idea, because when you finish across the finishing line, you really want all three paddlers to be as close together so you're not waiting around.
Well, ideally you want them finishing in a line, but that's certainly not happening with the Germans. They're just struggling there through that upstream gate. The water absolutely pouring down this Penrith course.
Yeah.
And the third paddler there, a long way back still.
Yeah, it looks like, I don't think it's going to be a winning run. They also picked up a time penalty, so I would think the Germans will be, or even though they've gone into the lead, saying that, but I think they'll be a little bit disappointed with that.
Away go the Austrians, Julia Schmidt, Kuhnel and Oblinger Peters, who's very, very experienced and been in the Austrian team for many, many years now. And just a little bit too spread out for my liking, though, in the early stages of this course.
Yes, I mean, Vio, who is at the front there, I mean, she's a very experienced paddler and is probably a lot higher calibre than the other two, to be honest. The other two, I think, are probably quite a new couple on the team and probably quite young. So it could be a tactic to actually keep them spread out so they actually stay out of each other's way, sort of minimising penalties.
Well, 6 seconds of time penalties on the first run. And it's the combination, of course, of the two times that's going to contribute towards the medal positions later. Germany, as you can see on this split position that we'll get, look at that. The Germans, of course, had a 50-second time penalty on their first run. So Austria, for the time being, are still in the lead. But there's a lot of good teams to come, including, of course, Great Britain.
Yeah, and certainly I would think that Great Britain are, in quite a strong position in fourth at the moment, and obviously having a couple of bronze medals in the past, I would think they'll be looking to pull it up a little bit. Well, the Austrians seem to be doing all right. They're keeping it clean, but they are pretty spread out. But you just never know quite in team runs. As we see, a lot of penalties do get picked up. So if they're keeping it clean, we just, you never can tell till the end.
They certainly won't want to repeat what the Germans achieved a few moments ago, which was a missed gate. And that meant 50 seconds. And really, when you get to that stage, if you do get a 50-second time penalty, you can just forget about any medal position at all, can't you?
You can pretty much, really. 50 seconds is a lot to make up, and even the quickest teams will struggle to do that. But these guys at the moment, they seem to be pretty consistent, not particularly quick. I would say, I can't imagine they're going to be winning potential, but certainly keeping it very clean. And in the team runs, that can be quite a tricky thing to do. So they look like they're all racing their own race rather than actually doing it together as a team, which is one way of doing it. Probably not the quickest, but so far, so good.
Well, two of the paddlers there arriving at that upstream gate almost together. Their first paddler has finished, coming through gates 21 and 22 to finish their World Championships, and certainly they will go into the lead. But as we've said already, some good teams to come, and this will be the new target for Austria. And it's 277.54. And that is the target for Great Britain, the Czech Republic, and everybody else. Well, here go the French trio. Aline Tonnerre, Picheri, and Peggy Dickens, of course, who picked up a bronze medal. Well known to you, Helen, and a useful paddler to have in your team. She's very experienced, isn't she?
She is very experienced. Unfortunately, she had an illness a while ago, which actually took her out of the 2000 Olympics, but came back quite good, obviously, last year in Athens, and seems to be going by strength this year, obviously picking up her bronze medal. And also we have another couple of girls that are obviously very technically good, and together, as long as they work together as a team, as you can see already, they are much closer together than the Austrians were. And well, you never know what these guys can do. They are very technically good.
Well, there is the split time, 179.02 by the Austrians, and the French have really taken that apart already. So it looks as though the Austrians will be relegated.
That looked like a misgate to me. I think they'll have to see what the penalties say, but it didn't look like she got ahead in that gate. So that could be it all over for the French. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, 50 seconds would be desperately disappointing for the French. Going well to this point. The lead paddler there heading off to gate number 15. And it all seems to have fallen apart for the French.
It certainly does. The penalty hasn't yet come up, and they look like they're still carrying on as if nothing's happened and going all right. But I'm pretty sure that was a 50-second penalty, and it will pop up at some point. They normally do.
Well, I bet the Austrians rather are rubbing their hands with glee at this point if they realise what has happened. They may not know the final result until it comes out on the results computer. The French seem to have got back in their stride, and certainly in terms of actual time going down this course, the French are still ahead, but there is the 50-second time penalty.
I thought it was, yeah, and I think that's it all over, really. You can't afford to be really having 50-second penalties and getting into the getting into the top 3. So unfortunately they are a very high calibre team, and they seem to have had a good run apart from that, but it does look like it's game over for the French.
I think so. That time is way outside what the Austrians set, and they'll be desperately disappointed. Not least, of course, Peggy Dickens, who picked up that bronze medal, but they're in second place for the time being, 3:07.94, and the 50-second time penalty coming on gate number 10. It's Great Britain, Laura Blakeman, Heather Corrie and Kimberly Walsh with a real chance of making it onto the medal rostrum later on today. And Laura Blakeman heading off with real commitment here, Helen.
It looks like it. They look pretty good at the moment, very close together. They had a second lead before they even started, so I mean it's looking pretty good from the start. They're a very experienced team. Both Heather and Laura paddled together with myself at the previous 2 World Championships, and Kim is pretty experienced really, even though it's only her first World Championship. She's certainly paddled at a number of World Cups and also some European Championships, so we should see some good stuff from these girls.
You might even find it difficult to get back in the team at this rate.
I know. Well, fingers crossed they can, but yeah, they certainly seem to be having a good championships, all of them in the top 12. It's pretty good.
Now look at this, 9.7 seconds at that split point there ahead of the Austrians. This is great news for Great Britain. Still some good teams to come. We've got the Australians, who are ahead of the British, who were 4th after the first run. And then, of course, we've got the Czech Republic and Slovakia as well.
Oh, now that looked a bit dodgy on gate 10. Fingers crossed it'll be fine. I think it probably will. But certainly, you know, after the French, then you just don't quite know. You have to be careful in these team runs. The pressure can get to you when there's other people sort of paddling. You're used to normally just being you on the run. So these girls, well, they're looking pretty good.
Well, let's just remind everybody, we have won medals in this event before, 2 consecutive bronze medals, in fact, at World Championships. Can they go 1 or even 2 better? There's every chance. They seem to have got their composure back now, Helen, as we head off towards gate 18.
They're looking pretty smooth and they're clean at the moment, pretty fast. They're looking good, really. I think they're confident girls. They'll be, all of them, very confident in their own ability and also in each other, which is very important when you're paddling as a team. You really need to have confidence in the people around you so you can have a good idea of what they're going to do. Because if they mess up, then it can really set you off key.
So just 2 seconds of time penalties to Corrie, Walsh and Blakeman. Coming now down towards the finish. The last couple of gates, it looks very, very tired and very tiring, very taxing. But this is a very important part of the course now. The British team have got to stay together if possible. And this certainly is going to be the leading time so far. Great Britain are in the lead. That is superb, 258.57.
Absolutely fantastic. I think they'll be really chuffed with that. They were together the whole way down, pretty clean, picked up 1 touch, but that's pretty good for a team run. The girls did good.
Well, a chance now for the Slovakians. They've seen what the British team have done, who are in the lead still. The Australians didn't have a very good run at all. They had a 50-second time penalty, plus a couple of other penalties, so they've gone out of the equation. And the one thing I can tell you is that now Great Britain definitely have a bronze medal. But Slovakia here, they've got Elena Kaliska here, the world individual champion, along with her 2 teammates, Dukatova and Zamiskova, and a very experienced team by the looks of it as well.
Very experienced, and at the moment they're also looking very good. They're very quick, and obviously Elena, I'm sure she's given a good start to the girls. Very quick at the moment, on the top of her form, Olympic champion, world champion, and you know, I'm sure she's pushing to get this team medal as well. They are looking together as a team, very composed.
And they're in the lead by over 12 seconds, Helen. Disappointing, but Britain's still in there. We've got another team to come. The Czech Republic. Now, was that a missgate?
No, she's lost her paddle. The 3rd paddle, as you can see, like she's only got one blade less, so she's lost half paddle. I've got a feeling, well, she's keeping going, but I think she will struggle. I think that, you know, that means silver for our girls at least.
I've never seen that before, ever.
It doesn't happen that often, but it looks like it's all game over. Very, very unlucky. It really isn't a common occurrence, but these things do happen. I bet they'll be absolutely gutted.
Well, how extraordinary.
Oh, and here we go. We can just see it there. You see, she just did that stroke, and the blade just fell out. Absolute nightmare.
So Great Britain currently lying in first place, but the Czech Republic so experienced. Pavelkova, Sadilova and the legendary Stepanka Hilgertova now, who only finished 4th in the individual, but she really is a world-class competitor. And they're chasing the overall time of the British trio, 260.57. If they don't achieve that, it could be gold for Great Britain. And what sort of story would that be?
I think it'd be absolutely fantastic, and I'm pretty sure the girls are sitting in their bottoms with their fingers crossed. You never want to wish bad luck on anybody, but I tell you, when you're sitting there waiting for a medal, you just can't help it. So the Czechs are looking good at the moment, all three of them completely tight together, one in, one out. Oh, but that's a penalty picked up by Hilgertova, which we've got to be careful now that the other two don't hit the pole, because when it's swinging, it's much more difficult to manoeuvre around it.
Well, there was certainly about 7 or 8 seconds ahead of Britain after the first run. The Czech Republic were the fastest, followed by the Slovakians, but we saw, you were talking about bad luck there, the Slovakians having desperate luck on their second and final
and
run.
They picked up another penalty there on gate 12, so at the moment they've got to keep it clean, because they can't afford, 7 seconds seems a lot, but I tell you, as soon as you start picking up penalties, things can just escalate, and they can't afford that, because our British girls had a really good run down there.
They certainly did. Let's just remind everybody what that target is, 260.57, 2 penalty points shown because of a touch gate. I have to say it's quite windy here, so these gates are moving around, and there's the target on this split time set by Great Britain, and look at that, the Czech Republic well inside it.
They are very experienced girls, all very talented, and so are ours, but team runs are a very tricky thing to do, and sometimes, you know, it doesn't always go to plan, but both our girls, oh, that looks a bit funny there, she got a bit caught up, but still managed to get herself back online. I think if these guys, it's going to be tight, I've got a feeling that they might just get it though, these Czech girls. They seem to be quite on form. Oh, but they do have 6 seconds of penalties. They've obviously picked up a few down the way.
Well, I tell you what, a couple of more penalty points, and this could go Britain's way. 260.57. The penalty points have been added, and we've got world champions. They are the Czech Republic. But what about Great Britain? Their first ever silver medal in the K1 women's team. That was absolutely brilliant. The Czech Republic are the world champions, though. A convincing performance by them. A superb silver medal, though, for Great Britain. Austria get the bronze. And now to the medal presentation. What a lovely moment. From the left-hand side, Kimberly Walsh. Then Laura Blakeman. Then Heather Corrie. I bet you can't wait to get back in a boat.
It certainly makes me want to get back in my boat quicker, I tell you. We're seeing these moments, that's what we do it for, and I bet those girls are dead chuffed up there.
Well, Laura, many congratulations. A silver medal and very close to gold.
Yeah, it was a really nice end to the racing for us here, and we put together some good team formations, so we're really happy with our result, yeah.
Yeah, Heather, it really came together on this second run.
Yeah, very much so. We had a very good second run, and that put us in the silver from 4th.
And Kimberly, first World Championships, and now you've got a silver medal around your neck, so that's a really nice feeling after a really good run in the individual final.
Yeah, it's fantastic. 2 good results. It's brilliant to go home with that.
Well done to all of you, and we'll see you next year for the Worlds in Prague.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The very broad shoulders of Stuart McIntosh getting the British challenge in this C1 men's team final underway. He's accompanied by David Florence and Daniel Goddard. And that's where they finished in the first run. They finished in 5th place overall, the 5th fastest time. A couple of time penalties. And there's some very good teams to come,
oh,
of
my
course.
Goodness.
What happened there?
It looked like Dan Goddard fell in at the top. It looked like, well, I don't know. Oh, it looks like he's going to have to go back for a gate. Now, that's going to be very costly. I can't imagine that they'll be able to come back from that, really. That's actually quite a big error. And as you can see, there's a massive gap now between Dave Florence and Dan Goddard, so Dan's got a lot of work to do.
Well, once again, it's pretty windy on this course, and that means these poles are blowing around, and that makes it very difficult. That's the target set by the Polish team so far, 157.79. And the British team have really got to get back to this. They've got to get together. They've got to act tight, as a team should.
They certainly have, and as you can see, that sort of mistake at the top has certainly cost them dearly. 5.5 seconds down. I think they will struggle to pull that back, seeing as how Dan is still way behind. As you can see here, he's still back up in the midsection, and the rest are actually, you know, progressing on down. But the other 2 boys saying that seem to be having quite a good run, and obviously they're keeping it clean, so, you know, you just never know what can happen in these team runs. I tell you, they're very difficult. Paddling with other people, it can be very tight and a bit confusing at times.
Well, Stuart McIntosh certainly trying to make amends for what was a very disappointing individual event for him, wasn't it?
I would think so. I mean, he's had a pretty good season this year, and I would think that he was absolutely gutted with his results, as we earlier saw in his interview. I don't think he could quite work out what had happened, and I think this is going to be a bit of a disappointing end to it for them as well.
Well, they're certainly not out of touch with the Poles who are in the lead at the minute, but when I tell you, the brilliant French team and the Germans and the Czech Republic have still yet to take their second run down this magnificent Penrith course. It's all to go for, and it's going to be very, very tough now, although things are going pretty well. Now, can that gap be kept down to under 3 seconds now? If they can, well, they're not out of touch totally. Dan's done ever so well to keep himself going, you know, like he hasn't actually done he's done really well to get back up there with the boys. And almost capsizing there right at the end. They're 5 seconds down. In fact, they slowed towards the end, but they are in third place for the time being. There you go. As you can see, just letting upstream on that stopper. Ow, and again, and obviously, like, that time penalty, well, that time loss is costly. Well, here we go now with the German team, and they're very, very experienced here. Bedger, Van Muller and Benzien, and they were surprisingly down in 4th place after the first run. They didn't have any time penalties, but actually they were quite slow. They certainly have the ability, I would think, to actually pull it out on this second one. Having Van Muller in the team, who actually bronze medalist in Athens last year, I would think will give them a lot of confidence. And look, you see there, 7.5 seconds up. They're doing very well. I would think that they'll be putting a good run together here. Actually, when you contrast how close they are together in comparison to when we saw the British team earlier, this is how it should be done. Certainly is, and when you see good teamwork in the team ones, it's brilliant, and they really are, you know, working so closely together. You're meant to have your nose to tail, and that's the best formation, really. Well, this is going to be very tough to beat, heading now down towards the finish, and look at this, way inside what the Poles achieved by 9.5 seconds or thereabouts. Just 2 seconds of time penalties. Now the French team, Lalille, Labarel and Tony Estanguet, one of the greatest C1 paddlers in the world. And the French, well, the Germans have certainly set a very, very good target, but the French, on paper, certainly have got the ability to do it. They certainly have, a very experienced team. And, I mean, the French, they've always produced good C1 paddlers. And with Tony Estanguet in there, you know, 2 times Olympic champion, well, you know, I think we'll be looking at a very good run here. Just as long as they keep it tidy, keep it clean, I think they'll be onto a good thing. Well, that is the target set by the Germans already. The French are 4.5 seconds ahead of Germany. So really the question is, can anybody beat the French? Well, let's see. They've still got to keep it together. I mean, there's still a lot to go and a couple of really tricky sequences. Oh, and there's a penalty. Just got to make sure that they don't pick up too many along the way, because they can be very costly. And once, like I said earlier, once you start picking them up, it makes it very difficult for the rest of your teammates to accomplish the gates as well. Well, this is the second third of the course down at Penrith, and just for once the French are looking a little bit cracked here in terms of their teamwork. No penalties that we can see at the moment. And we've still got the Czech Republic to come, and they were 2.5 seconds in the lead over everybody after the first run. But look at that, they've increased their lead to nearly 5.5 seconds. They're absolutely flying by the looks of it. They are a very, very good team, and along with the Germans were as well. I think both these teams are setting high standards for the final teams to come down. It's going to be difficult for them to follow. Well, we'll see the target that they have to beat in just a moment, but all 3 of them now heading down towards gate number 22 and the finish. A couple of seconds of time penalties there. Can they do it? It's going to be very, very close indeed. 2:29.90 to beat. Surely they're going to beat it. They must do. And it was actually very, very tight in the end there. I thought they were going to win by more at the beginning when they had that 5-second gap, but in the end it was just under half a second. Very tight race. Now the Czech Republic, they've seen what the French have done. Just 0.43 of a second ahead of Germany. The top 2 positions at the moment, France, Germany. Oh, picking up penalties though along the way, and you can't really afford to do that. Oh, 2 penalties already. You really need to keep this bottom bit clean. I think they're going to struggle to make up that time. Well, they absolutely flew down this course in the first run. They had the fastest time by, what, 2.5 seconds or thereabouts. But that is the split time that the French set. So what sort of target have they set, and what can the Czech Republic do about it? They're just inside it. That is magnificent. That is brilliant, but I've got a feeling they're going to have a couple of penalties come up on their score yet, because they don't seem to have appeared. So we'll have to wait and see, but they certainly seem to pick up a couple at the top. How on earth do you cope with this crosswind that's blowing these poles about, Helen?
It is an absolute nightmare, really. I mean, when we sort of want good conditions, you've got to have it still. When the gates are flying around all over the place, it does make it much more tricky. As you can imagine, we're all trying to get as close to the gates as possible, so no wind really is... We really don't want wind.
So the Czech Republic, they haven't really managed to keep the pace going that they set on the first third of the course, and they finish there with 2:35.10, including all their time penalties. They do get a medal, but not where they wanted. They get a bronze. It should have been gold. Well, France, the new champions in the C1 team competition, 2:29.47, just ahead of Germany. Czech Republic in third place and Great Britain in seventh. And Tony Estanguet on the right-hand side, the Frenchman, another major medal for him, along with his teammates. And New South Wales here in Australia have been absolutely superb hosts for these World Championships. There's the final medals table. Germany and France on top. Great Britain with that silver medal from the K1 women's team. And that consisted of Heather Corrie, Kimberly Walsh and Laura Blakeman. The rest of the British team a little bit disappointing, but a lot of rebuilding to do before we go to Prague next year for the next edition of the World Championships.
Well, isn't it wonderful to see the sunshine there in Sydney as the Australians enjoy the start of their summer? The sun's certainly out here at